Welcome back. I'm Brandon, the HBAR Bull, and once again, I'm joined by Zepzi. He and I both do some work for the HBAR Foundation, but we're not doing this on behalf of the foundation, just giving our own insights on the latest in the Hedera ecosystem. Welcome back, Zep.
How's it going, Brandon?
It's going pretty good. A lot of stuff going on with Hedera. To kick it off, why don't we talk about the Hedera NFTs, the Dead Pixels? What do you have for us on that?
It's been a very exciting time, even if I wasn't a Dead Pixel holder, I think, because there's been the magnitude of engagement and sort of awareness that I've seen on Twitter in the last sort of I'm not at the heart of the Discord servers. Like, that's a disservice for me to say that. I'm not at the heart of that community, but I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and in the last I don't know, 5, 6 sort of the last week, really, I've just seen an absolute influx in engagement, in new people coming in, Solana users, Cardano users, all this stuff. And leading that charge is the Dead Pixel Ghost Club. And so it started off, I think it started off the week, I mean, way under a 10,000 HBAR floor.
Mm-hmm.
I think it started the week at about 5,000. And then this Solana Whale came in, and there was, this sort of, everyone was getting very excited on Twitter, and the Zuse market volume, it did like 10% of its total volume in 24 hours. And then the Dead Pixel floor just kept on going. I think it hit about 10K from that. And then yesterday, I think it was about 15K. And the last time, I have a look now. So
The last time I looked, it was at 23.
Well, there we go, 23,000. Yeah. So that's like, considering the mint was 200 HBAR, like probably like the best investment ever.
Sure.
But yeah, no, very, very exciting. And alongside that, you've also got the Dead Pixel Ghost Club Pass, and that's at like 27K as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I mean, like, they're leading the charge there, and that's extraordinary. We've seen all these, all this new engagement, people from Cardano, like Solana, like we said. But that's now filtering down as well. So not only are the Dead Pixels taking the spotlight, but this liquidity, this volume is coming down from the top of Zuse market down to the bottom. And so, I mean, I think, Meta Zombies has gone up. There's like 2,000% volume up on there. Today, we've got another 800% volume on Happy Hash Frogs, 8,100% increased 24-hour volume on Dazzle Ducks. 800 on Dead Perks. It's like, the list goes on. Everyone's in like triple digits, which is, that itself is a testament to how much awareness is coming in here very quickly. And even today, 1.8 million volume almost in 24 hours, which again, that's another 10% of the Zuse market's total volume. I think, the last 4 days there's been over 1 million volume. So, it's NFT summer for the HBAR community.
Yeah, and I mean, this is all being tracked on Dapp Radar, but I heard there's a little bit of an issue right now with Dapp Radar. Right now, they're showing us at number 15, but really, there's a little bit of an issue. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so as I understand, there is a there's a difference between the volume listed on Dapp Radar and on Zuse Market. So on Zuse Market, on Dapp Radar currently, it's saying we've done 20K or almost 21K dollars volume in the last 24 hours, and that's putting us at rank 15. But you go on to Zuse Market, and the total 24-hour volume at the moment is 1.735 million.
Okay, so over $100,000.
Exactly, over $100,000. So on here, on Dapp Radar, that actually places us above Decentraland, above Solana Ars, above Mobox, to 11th place.
Yeah.
So that's putting us above Ethereum, Tezos, Ether,
Binance Pancake Swap on Binance Chain. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, it's crazy. And I know there's talks between the Zuse team and Dapp Radar currently to try and get that fixed. So hopefully, even more eyes will be on HBAR NFT community after that issue is resolved as well.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this brings me to a tweet that I saw. There was a guy named Ace, a Twitter user, and he said ADA NFTs are on fire, but I'm finding the Hedera user interface much more friendly, starting from Hashpack, which is light years ahead of Yori. I guess that's a Cardano wallet.
Yeah, I've
And he
heard.
goes on to say the community is amazing. Get them HBAR. Things could blow up at any moment. I'm an ADA whale now selling a fat bag for hashtag HBAR. So this is somebody who was obviously entrenched in the Cardano ecosystem, and he saw the infrastructure and Hashpack and how easy it was to use, and decided to move over. I mean, that's tough to do. We know how tribal our communities can be. So that kind of a shift is a big move. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. As this infrastructure that's being facilitated by the HBAR Foundation actually comes to fruition, actually people start to use it and see how easy it is to use and how good the Hedera network, how fast things are, there's going to be more and more of these shifts. You said there was a Solana whale that came over. Here we have an example of a Cardano Whale coming over and using our ecosystem. It's really exciting. And I mean, that goes back to somebody I had an interview with over the weekend, David Lane of Pari Fund, and he was talking about an issue that he had with the Solana ecosystem. He was talking about how he had issues with the network shutting down, and he was trying to make it, transactions and things like that. And he said, I've never had that issue on Hedera. So it's this kind of stuff. We've always been confident that Hedera had the best network. Now we're getting some of the best infrastructure built behind it, and it's drawing people in. It's great.
Definitely. I mean, back to that point, the ADA guys' usability of the network. So a lesser known secret, my guiltiest secret, is that I was very much involved in Cardano in my earliest days. And there was a very strong community there. There's undoubtedly still a very strong community. But the one thing that I always did find very difficult was the wallet. So there was a Daedalus, which was, I mean, to be fair, that synced with the entire blockchain every time you open it. So that would take me like 3 hours to open it. But even with Yori, like that Yori wallet took me, I don't know, probably 15 minutes to really get it booted up and actually working. And even then, it was difficult to navigate. It was buggy. Hashpack is unbelievably clean, and obviously now we've got Blade Wallet as well. I think they're more in sort of the APAC region, the Asia Pacific region, working with Slime World and people like that. So it's we've got the network, like you said, and the infrastructure's here, and it's getting better and better. But just a hats off to Hashpack, really. They're a serious team.
Yeah, it's one thing that drives me kind of crazy. I probably should save this for the market commentary, but people, criticize the HBAR Foundation every once in a while. Every few days, somebody will point out that they're the biggest depositor on, Binance or onto exchanges. And well, of course, right? Every few days, and it's not going directly to Binance. I'm guessing that it's actually going to an over-the-counter desk account with Binance and then being sold over several days. But the HBAR Foundation is the largest ecosystem builder. Of course, and that's what the treasury of HBAR was always for. It was always to be used to build out the Hedera network and build out the infrastructure around it, right? So they're doing exactly what they're supposed to. So I do get a little bit frustrated when I see that because, well, of course the HBAR Foundation is getting capital to be able to build out the network and the ecosystem. That's just how this is all supposed to work. That's what we signed on for. But the other thing, I mean, we're talking about NFTs. The other thing that is a big community driver over the past week was there's a Sauce community giveaway. I did a video just yesterday. I had a member of the team. I also had a member of the community. Even though I did have Peter from the team on, it is a completely community-driven effort. All of the Sauce is coming from, I guess, early investors. But it's exciting to see, all the engagement we're getting around that. Of course, Saucer Swap is a decentralized exchange that's being built on Hedera. We put a tweet out. There's some information about how you can actually participate. It's 200,000 sauce is going to be given away. There's going to be 2 actual giveaways, 100,000 each. And from what I've heard, based off of the early valuations of sauce, how much essentially the early investors paid for it, this is worth $3,000 to $6,000. So it's no small giveaway. But again, it's a community effort that's going out right now, and I was excited to be involved with it.
For sure. It seems like the stars are aligning for an NFT and DeFi summer. I think there's almost like everyone says, like the best time to build is in a bear market. And obviously, there was a lot of dismay about us there was this idea that we missed the bull run. But I think, maybe now, the infrastructure wasn't necessarily there. DeFi couldn't have been a thing then, all of this stuff. But now, we're in this, this build market, and, we're building out this DeFi infrastructure. The NFT infrastructure is there. It's getting bigger and bigger, and everything's quieting down. It's like, that's why all of a sudden people from Solana are looking in. It's why all of a sudden people from Cardano are looking in. And the more we can do whilst everything's quiet, the better footing we are for the next leg up, whenever that is. Maybe that's year, 2 year, it could be even less than that. Who knows? But we're building now so that for that real bull run, we'll have the infrastructure there, so that the user experience is best in class along with the network. It's like, you don't want to attract people over when they're going to have a difficult time. You want it to be completely a smooth transition, and all of that's being built now. And DeFi is coming, source swap, all of this stuff. It's all here and it's all being built, and it's very exciting, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head. There's going to be some good opportunities, I think, with the macroeconomic environment. We're kind of in a bear market in the crypto space. So there's going to be some opportunities over the next 12 to 18 months or so. But people should be able to read between the lines, see this infrastructure that's being built, see where the shifts are taking place between networks, and see that Hedera and the HBAR is a great opportunity.
Definitely.
All right, so the next thing I wanted to touch on, and you might have some insights on this, one of the artists from DC and Marvel, Paul Pelletier, and I hope I'm saying his name right, is doing the Ashfall comic with Liithos. Did you see this one?
I did indeed. And I can't, so some of the big names that I remember he worked on was, I think, Superman, the Man of Steel, Fantastic Four, Flash, Green Lantern. And that's only skimming the surface of the caliber of art he's done for projects within those two universes. And going back to that video we first had about Liithos, the big thing that turning people off, or has turned people off in the past, to the idea of Web3 gaming, or from the traditional gaming ecosystem looking over into Web3, is this idea of like a cash grab, or a sort of afterthought just to make some money. Whereas clearly, John Garvin and Michael Mumbauer, these are two titans in the industry, and they love it. Gaming is everything to them, and all this is doing is further reiterating that. Paul Pelletier from DC and Marvel, as part of the comic series for Liithos, this is a serious project where they're putting, so it's a project of passion and love and everything that they care about, i.e. gaming, and taking it even a step further in technology. Michael Mumbauer he's been at the forefront of technology in gaming, since for the last sort of 20, 30 years. And this is just the next step for him in pushing technology, and to have Paul Pelletier beside him as well. Again, it just it solidifies this vision of a true AAA Web3 video game title that is going to get it is going to turn the heads, I believe, of the traditional gaming ecosystem, and it's going to be their entry, and it's all going to be on Hedera.
Well, this is how I'm looking at this. I think it's just a good business strategy. These AAA games, $100 million budgets, they take years to come to fruition and actually come to market. But they're announcing it now. They want some excitement around it. I'm sure they want a market to possibly raise capital. Who knows exactly what they're doing. But either way, it's going to take a while before this comes to fruition. And things like this comic, the NFTs that are doing, that's stuff to keep the audience engaged over the next 2 years while they're building this thing out. And of course, as we get closer, they're going to be able to show us more, more than just the art for the game, get people engaged, beta test, things like that. But this shows that they're going to keep the audience engaged over while the Ashfall game is actually being built out.
For sure.
So the other news that we had this week, about 2 weeks ago, I did an AMA with Tudor Holotescu with Headstarter, and they're doing an IDO Launchpad. And one thing that we saw this week was that their token, the HST token, was listed on Bitmart. Did you catch this one as well?
I did indeed. Yeah. So it's so recently, for a long time, it was very difficult, it seemed, for an HTS token to get listed. I think Jam pioneered that, and then we had Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
But now that HST, Headstarter is the IDO launchpad of the Hedera ecosystem. And if it's going on to a big exchange, and there's incentives around at the moment, I think there's a giveaway that they're doing with the exchange. All of these eyes are going to be looking at HST. And maybe a lot of them will just see it and you go, new listing, whatever, I'm just going to flip it, maybe try and turn some profit. But for the people that perhaps are looking to actually invest, they'll go into it and they'll go, okay, what is HST doing? Oh, they're an IDO launchpad. Oh, wait, they're on Hedera. Wait, I didn't know Hedera had DeFi. Oh, wait, it's just about to have DeFi. Now it's time to get in. So I think, in terms of raising awareness for the Hedera ecosystem, in terms of pioneering the Hedera ecosystem, they've done an incredible job. And the Headstarter team are they're the best of the best, and I'm very excited to see what comes from them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the thing that I like about this is, it's showing how much easier it's becoming to get secondary markets for HTS tokens. And I think as the DeFi summer for Hedera gets started, it's going to show that there are real markets for HTS tokens. And, the centralized exchanges won't have to necessarily just guess and say, well, we hope that there's going to be a market for these HTS tokens. They're going to see that functioning market in our DeFi space and say, okay, well, here, we see the volume that's being created. We can actually start to list them here. So that's going to really help and bring us up on par with some of the other networks that have active secondary markets for their tokens.
For sure.
All right, so this kind of goes in, Headstarter is a launch pad. They do want to get businesses started, especially the ones focusing on HTS tokens. But there is a lot of investment that's going around in the Hedera space. And, I've been doing some interviews lately. I had Arca on. We just did Pari Fund. I mentioned them a little bit earlier. We have First Mile. We have Mind Fund. They're all looking at our space to help supplement, Hedera and the HBAR Foundation to help build out this infrastructure. Have you noticed that trend lately?
Definitely. There's been I've been going by your videos. It's the at the front. I've got front row seats to see it all, and it's just to see. I think to actually see you talking to these people and seeing why they're intrigued by the ecosystem, why they're investing. I think that really, it solidifies a lot of things. And they were talking. I think there was a focus point, or one thing I remember him saying. I think it was in the Arca. Was the Arca one the most recent one?
No, that was the Pari Fund.
Yep. No, the Pari Fund.
David Land.
The Pari Fund was most recent, and he said something about was it 100 billion waiting on the sides coming in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. So essentially, yeah. Go ahead.
Carry on. No.
No. Essentially, over the past couple years, venture capital has gotten $100 billion specifically to invest in the cryptocurrency space. So they have a mandate over the next 3 to 5 years to put that money into the space and build out these ecosystems. And they're looking across the landscape, and I think Hedera is popping up as a place that's a good home for that capital.
For sure. And it's such a nascent industry, and that's a huge amount of capital to be deploying, but it's an industry that's moving quickly. Mm-hmm. And obviously they're not going to be looking at the Doge coins and stuff like that. They'll be looking at Polygon and the Ethereum ecosystem, Avalanche and stuff like that. And it seems that also Hedera is now moving there. We are carving out our niche, which is as an enterprise grade cryptocurrency, and this is becoming more and more clear with the likes of Avery Dennison, with EDF Energy, with DLA Piper, et cetera, et cetera. And not only are we this enterprise grade cryptocurrency, but we've got solo developers, we've got this DeFi ecosystem emerging, we've got the NFT ecosystem exploding. So it's like they can look into our ecosystem and see, yes, we've got that USP, which is being enterprise grade, being trusted by Fortune 500, having that governing council. But we've also got these other things for the retail investor, which obviously a lot of money comes from retail. To know that these eyes are looking in at Hedera, and it's only going to become more so as more grants come out and the TPS goes up and the TVR goes up. The metric, the total value represented, discussed by DLA Piper, and then TVR with DeFi. We're going to be making our way up at these leaderboards, and more eyes, I believe, are going to be coming in as well from these big investment firms.
Yeah, and along the same lines, we have next Thursday on the 21st at 10 a.m. Eastern, we have a Crowdcast event where we're going to have some of our startups that are building on Hedera are going to be able to present their pitches to various venture capitalists. So if anybody wants to kind of see what's going on in that space, they're more than welcome to show up for that. I'll make sure to put the link down in the description. It should be fun to watch. And heck, if you're a accredited investor, you might actually be able to get in on the ground floor with some of these startups as well.
For sure. Yeah, I'm excited to see everything that comes from that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to be involved with. We did one before, and this is the second one, and we're going to continue to do it because the startups need capital, so it's going to be fun to watch. The other thing was, and it's along the same lines, is BCW, which is very active in our space, is starting a development fund. The thing that has me excited about this is BCW understands our ecosystem in and out. They are involved with Hashport. They are involved with Toko. Everybody has seen NoonPay out there. These are all the things they're doing. They have really tight connections with FIS. Of course, that's in the payments arena. They have connections with Animoca Brands, which is a huge gaming company. They have connections with Hex Trust custody. So pretty much across the board, they have expertise. So it's going to be interesting. They know where the capital needs to be deployed. So we have another development fund coming into our space.
Definitely. And I think one thing that definitely excites me about BCW Group is they are based in Hong Kong. So, in that Asia Pacific region, obviously cryptocurrency is getting bigger and bigger. We had that massive run up with GameFi and Axie Infinity and, that kind of stuff. And I think to have this representation in Hong Kong, where it's hard to finance Hong Kong, or one of the hearts of finance, and they've got Fortune 500 clients that they work with. They've got to focus on interoperability, obviously with Hashport. That's going to be massive. You've got Web3 infrastructure they're doing gaming, NFTs, metaverse. So it's like to get that investment from a real credible institution like BCW Group, who's going to be managing getting people into our ecosystem within the Asia Pacific region. I think that's super exciting. And we've seen Asia Pacific. We saw just with Slime World how much the accounts blew up from that one play to earn game. And I know that Blade Wallets has a relationship with Slime World as well. So it looks like leeway is being made in the Asia Pacific, which is very good news.
Yeah, I need to get Slime World on as soon as possible and see if we can get Alex as well to run us through exactly what's going on there.
Sure.
All right, so the other thing we had this week was an announcement around Cryptsy. Can you give us the lowdown on that?
Yeah, so yesterday, Cryptsy announced that Amana Group had selected Carbon Core as their carbon marketplace of choice. And so Amana Group are a massive global company. I think they're one of the leading companies for rooftop solar. And the actual group itself, Amana Group, they've turned over, I think they turn over $750 million a year. They have about 8,000 employees, and I think they've offset 34,000 metric tons of CO2. Wow. So that's an industrial scale, and for them to have chosen a carbon marketplace built on Hedera, that they're trusting Hedera for this in a market that doesn't have much trust. The carbon marketplace is always been sort of plagued with distrust because of all these things like double spending, et cetera. And Hedera and the Guardian with Envision Blockchain, with the Sustainable Impact Fund, with Wes Geisenberger, the Interwork Alliance, the Global Blockchain Business Council, they are pioneering this institutional level of carbon offsetting, i.e. getting carbon offsets, both the liquidity for them with the ARMs that we learned about with block science, but also getting the infrastructure there, the technology there to prevent double spending and to be able to supply it to these massive corporate companies. That's a huge use case for Hedera, and it's enterprise grade crypto meeting enterprise grade carbon offsetting. So it's really big news for Hedera, definitely.
Yeah, the Sustainable Impact Fund is doing a lot of big things. ESG is obviously huge on Hedera because of the efficiency that Hedera brings to the table. So, Zepzi, I'm going to put you on the spot here. We need an infographic. We need to know how all this stuff fits together, how the Guardian and Dovu and the stuff that EDF is doing and Cripsy, how all that stuff fits together. So, I know you're an expert putting these infographics together, and I think the community needs to know how this stuff fits together because I think it's going to be a pretty good sized space within the Hedera ecosystem.
Definitely. I mean, that point on infographics, especially, they're core to a community. I think. Not saying that I'm by any means the core to the community, but that having that content, that easily shareable content is essential. It's like there's another big community based in direct acyclic graph. They're called DAG, Constellation DAG. And one thing I've noticed, it's a very fervent community. And there's not necessarily people that know the ins and outs. They don't need to know the ins and outs. But if you have an infographic that you can just chuck into the metaverse of Twitter, and people can look at that and go, wow, that is interesting. And with something as complex, and I think what the SIF doing is it is complex. With the ARMs, with the Guardian, it's not easy to digest. So definitely, you're gonna have to take you up on that. And definitely get a SIF ecosystem infographic out there for sure.
Yeah, we'll get with Wes and we'll get with Rob Allen and we'll get all the information together and we'll get one made up.
Definitely.
All right, so let's move on to the HBAR market. So we're pretty much flat over the week. We're sitting at about 6.5, 6.6 cents per HBAR. We tested the 6-cent range again. It looked like it held fairly well. We broke below it a little bit, but for the most part, we held around that 6 cents. So that's what I'm still looking at for support. I think there's a possibility of having resistance up at about 7 cents, and then the next area of resistance is going to be at that Google spike high at about 8 cents. Of course, we've had the HBAR is a leaf in a hurricane. We have all the macro things going on. We had the inflation numbers in the United States come out at over 9% on Wednesday. But that's, looking back. We also have oil prices, which have come down, are under $100 a barrel. And, that's what's going on right now. And of course, that impacts the rest of the market. So we'll see where that goes. I know a lot of the large oil companies are saying that this could be temporary. We don't know how long it's going to last. Oil prices could go back up again. So we'll keep a close eye on that as things go forward. The other thing that I wanted to touch on as far as the HBAR market is Stater. HBAR X is now worth 1.117 HBAR. So you've earned almost 12% if you got involved with Stater liquid staking from the beginning. The total value locked is up to 645 million HBAR. That was a bit of a surprise to me. I know last week we were down at 600. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that shows a massive trust in the team. Stater, they're the pioneering the pioneering staking project on Hedera, liquid staking, and they've done an incredible job of rallying our community together. I think they've got. I mean, last time I checked, I think they had about over 10,000 followers on Twitter, and that's impressive stuff. And they put out these graphics. They do these consistent AMAs. They've won the trust of the community. They've had everything's been audited, fully audited. And so far it's been a completely painless procedure. Really, it's like I did like a double click, however many months ago now, and I haven't really looked back.
Yeah.
So it's it is. They're a serious team with a lot of trust, and it's great to see all the TVL still there.
Yeah, not only is it still there, but it's actually gone up a fair amount. Like I said, just last week, we were at 600 million HBAR total value locked. So we've gone up a fair amount. That's caused the APY to come down a little bit. It was at 40% last week. Now it's at 37.7, but it just shows the engagement and people are still interested in participating.
For sure.
All right, Zeb, is there anything else you'd like to pass on to the community?
I'm just equally as excited as everyone. I think the NFT is popping off. We've got DeFi coming up. Hopefully, we'll see Avery Dennison's make a mark on the transactions this month. There's a lot to be excited about, and I couldn't be more excited than I am now, even given the wider market conditions. I'm just seeing new eyes coming into the ecosystem, new people coming into the ecosystem, new projects coming into the ecosystem. And yeah, it's a real build market for Hedera for sure.
Yeah. Over the last 24 hours, the transaction volume has gone up a fair amount. I think there's a good possibility that that's actually AdsDAX bringing on a new customer, but it certainly could be Avery Dennison coming on with Atma.io. We really don't know. But, we'll keep a close eye on it and we'll see where it goes.
Definitely.
All right, Zep. Thank you so much for swinging by. This was a fun conversation.
Pleasure as always, Brandon.